Right, it's now live on YouTube, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this video conferencing extraordinary meeting of the Development Committee. We have no members of the public speakers who have joined us, but welcome to any other members of the public who are with us today. We also have our officers with us. We have Head of Planning, Philip Rowson, Officer Rowson. We have Majors Development Manager. Is that your title, Jeff? I never know what your official title is.
It's the Major Projects Manager, Chair. Major
Projects Manager, thank you. And our legal beagle, Noel Doran, who is here if we need him. We also have two members from the Democratic Services who manage the committee meetings. That's Emma Denny and Linda Yarman. They both take minutes, they time any speakers, and they manage the gremlins that invariably infect our Zoom meetings. So I think that's as much as I need to say at the moment. We're going to go, well, please mute when you're not speaking. And we're going to go to the agenda. I've done this. Any apologies for absence, please?
Yes, we have one apology from Councillor Varley this morning with Councillor Toy as his substitute.
Thank you. You should all have received a copy of the minutes of the 15th of October last week with a notice from Linda. Have you all read these? Can I have someone to say they approve, please? That's Councillor Kershaw, seconded by Councillor Heinrich. Show of hands to say that you accept the minutes as a correct record. Unanimous, thank you. Now we go to items of urgent business, and this is where I now hand over to Head of Planning, Officer Rowson.
Thank you very much, Chairman, members of the public. It's with great disappointment, members, that I need to report to you this morning that as of yesterday evening, the applicant has withdrawn the planning application. There is, in effect, no planning application to be heard today. The consideration of that application, therefore, by the committee is something that we cannot take forward. We will be exercising the formal withdrawal of the application as a formal matter of business later this morning, but it is appropriate, Chairman, that I report to you and our members today that the application was withdrawn yesterday evening and that there is now no longer any matter to debate today for this committee. The meeting was held as a single meeting specifically for this item, and I appreciate that that will be very disappointing for all of the members here and those who have an interest in this case. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I now pass to Officer Lyon to give us an update. He's done an awful lot of work with the team on this particular application. Officer Lyon, if you'd like to come in.
Okay, I mean, I won't necessarily say too much more than what Philip has just said. Yes, it was a very late decision last night to withdraw by the applicants. We had to clarify the position on that in terms of the actual withdrawal in the entirety of the application. So it is now withdrawn on our back office system. So it is a formally withdrawn application. And we've made the applicant aware of that as well, that it is now formally withdrawn. And we will have notified interested parties that that is the case. So yes, there is no application now to determine or decide today. It is frustrating because there may be issues from that application that we would have wanted to debate as a committee that could have been useful going forward, but that's not able for us to do that today. So unfortunately there are no applications to consider on the agenda today.
Thank you. I now pass to members. Can I just remind you that we are live? It's just for you to make comments if any of you wish to. I know we have all spent a lot of time reading through the complicated application, but it's not wasted. This knowledge that you've taken on board is not wasted, and no doubt something will appear again in the near future. Yes, Councillor Kershaw, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just amazed that this application has been going on for 2 years, and at the 11th hour, it's been withdrawn. I know a lot of officers have put a lot of work into this, and papers have been circulated. People have spent hours reading and making notes. I'm amazed that they're allowed to do it. I'd like them to have to pay for the time that they've wasted, to be honest. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cushing, you wish to speak some? Oh no, Councillor Mancini Boyle, I beg your pardon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm absolutely amazed at this. We even had a pre-meeting on this, spent a long time going over it. All of us were heavily lobbied by this application, and it just seems a complete waste of my time, everybody else's time, and it's such a shame because it's 2 years to come to fruition, and our officers have put an awful lot of time in, as our members have, and if this was to happen every time, we'd never get anything done. I'm just really pretty sick of it.
Thank you. Councillor Pearce, this is your area, isn't it? You're the local member here.
Yes, obviously, my colleague Angie Fitch-Tillett sits in a neighbouring ward as well, and has got a little part of it in her ward. So it's not just me, although, as you quite rightly point out, Madam Chairman, the lion's share or whatever it is lies within my ward. I have to agree with Councillor Kershaw and Councillor Mancini Boyle that I think it's not the fact that it's a waste of time, as you correctly put it out. It is the effort, not only by the officers and us members, and you can argue that's what we're here for, but it still takes time, but also the local parish councils and everybody that has been involved in looking at the direction of which they wish to go. And I do think that we are having so much trouble with large developers. One's only got to go back 2 or 3 years to Sculthorpe and what's happening elsewhere at the moment. I do think that there should be some kind of structure whereby that if you council withdraw an application at this hour, they should pay for the time, and I think that should be written, or at least we should encourage to have that put into our constitution, because I just think this makes a total mockery of A, local democracy, B, good healthy running of a planning department, whatever the result was going to be of the application discussed by the committee. And it just undermines the fact that a developer can put this forward, cause all this work, all this major shift in policy, and I'm not even looking at the fact that COVID's happened in the last year, and we're left with a very heavy bill and a possible reapplication in the future, where a lot of this is going to have to be redone. I would ask the chairman of the head of planning and yourself, Madam Chairman, to see if we can, is there any way we can, for the future, putting a clause or even legally to see that if they do this, large developers in the future, they have to pay. Thank you.
I'll now pass to, yes, you knew I was going to come to you. Noel, please, if you could just answer that point.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, the discharge and the consideration of planning applications is a public statutory function, and so we can't unilaterally impose obligations of that nature. But there's nothing stopping us lobbying higher authorities to bring about a change in legislation, but that's what would be required to be able to charge for applications withdrawn at the last minute.
Thank you. Andreas, you wish to come in?
Yes, obviously we're disappointed. I enjoyed staying up and reading it over and over again. And I constructed a very nice speech, which is very unfortunate, a very balanced one as well, being a local member. But as Noel says, it is the applicants, they have a right to withdraw, and there's nothing against that, is there? So I guess we have to accept it as it stands unless we make change to how we function.
Well, I think, thank you, Andreas. And as you say, you are within the same sort of curtilage of this development. I think, as Noel said, legally we have no comeback with this particular application, and the fact it was withdrawn at the last moment. It would have to go to a higher authority to see whether we could alter the legislation that allows them to do this. I think we must just point out that even if this had been brought forward and we discussed it, it would have been a no-brainer, really, because we would have been discussing nothing, basically, because they would not put forward, they would say that they were withdrawing anyway. They could literally sit, I think, Noel, isn't that? So they could have literally sat here this morning and said, we are withdrawing within our entirety.
They could have done that, yes.
Yeah, you see, so it has to go above us. Angie, did you wish to say anything? I couldn't see whether you were waving a hand or not. Apologies.
No, I'm not, Madam Chairman, but I would just like clarification. Talking about this has been in the discussion for 2 years. I think that's a little bit longer, but perhaps officers can enlighten us on that. Thank you.
Jeff, have you anything to say on this one?
Yes, so this was originally picked up by Sarah Henchcliffe, who was a case officer for a while, and then I picked this up when she left. There were a number of ongoing discussions, primarily in relation to highway matters. That's really the issue that was taking a long time to resolve. We were giving the applicant an opportunity to address those points, but as I say, we're not really into debating the merits of the case today. But it was highways that was the main issue that was causing the delay in the determination.
Thank you.
It was really just the length of time that it has taken, because, I mean, I can remember it seemingly going on for a lot longer than 2 years, or maybe it's just such a big one.
Nigel, did you want to come back, my love?
Yes, just a quickie. I know that I had a meeting with Angie and Jeff and with John Lee. It must be at least 3-4 years ago, when this was originally mooted. This may not be the application in total, but there has been a long history of proposals to this, to which, as Sarah, I remember that meeting extremely well, and that was the first of several. But the point is, I do think, Madam Chairman, it's closer to 4 years now for the whole total shebang of this.
Yeah.
And I think, that does need to be taken into consideration, bearing in mind that it's a controversial application anyway.
Well, I suppose as members of the committee and as officers, this happens every now and again. I can't remember it happening in the 9 years that I've sat on this committee, but it will happen every now and again that presumably the applicant took legal advice again and were told that it was best to withdraw. Yes, Officer Rowson, you wish to come in here?
On the matter of legal advice, Chairman and members, I can confirm that some of the members, the leader of the council, the chairman, the vice chairman and portfolio holder will have seen that the applicant submitted late on Tuesday evening to the leader and then on Wednesday morning to officers a QC opinion which instructed that the matter should be withdrawn from the agenda. Through very much of yesterday, officers were in discussion with appointed counsel involving legal services, service manager and myself to review that legal opinion from QC, instructing withdrawal from the agenda today. And we have a very clear legal opinion returned to us, which says that we were entitled to move forward to discuss this item today. When that was clarified for the agents, they then instructed that the application would be withdrawn. So we spent time, money, and effort yesterday bringing this matter to the meeting, and then at that last moment, clearly the applicant decided that they did not want the case to be heard in the manner that it was being introduced in the officer's report.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak before I close this meeting? No? Well, thank you all very much for attending. Yes, Officer Rowson, did you wish to speak again?
Chairman, I can see there's a great deal of disappointment today with members. It would be an unusual step, but with your agreement, we could write to the applicant and express the committee's disappointment at the late withdrawal of this application and the time, energy and effort for our community, for committee members, officers to be engaged in this matter and to have it withdrawn at the last moment. That may be something that, Chairman, you may consider is appropriate in this instance.
Could I just have a show of hands from members if they feel this is a good thing to do, to write to this applicant? Yes, we're in agreement there. It's unanimous that we will send that letter through, Philip. Nigel, did you wish to say something else? I mean, it's not just our time, as Nigel very sensibly said, it's the time spent by the parish council, objectors and all this, you know. Yes, Nigel.
I just get obviously a legal and possibly head of planning situation with yourself, Madam Chairman. I haven't seen obviously the reasons why that the advice was received from the QC, etc., instructing or inviting the applicant to withdraw. But, you know, if that is because the legal advice deemed the application unsuitable, I ask a question because would that then have any legal bearance and relevance on any other application that would come forward for this area? Because I know I'm only asking genuinely because we are told and instructed by statute, by law, that we look at each application individually. Now, this is a very controversial application. It's long drawn in the tooth. There's this reason or reasons why it was dramatically withdrawn over the last 2 or 3 days. But I just ask, without obviously asking to be too much devolved, if the legal advice from the QC was the fact that this is not going to get through because of, would this then have any bearance on any future applications for the same site?
No, Noel, please come in here.
Thank you. The advice submitted, the QC opinion submitted by the applicant was to the effect that the officer's report was legally and fundamentally flawed, such that the application should be deferred, not withdrawn. Following consideration with council, with officers of that opinion and the points raised, we responded to say that the late submissions that had been made did not raise sufficient issues to warrant further deferral, and the matter should continue to be determined at the meeting this morning. Following our response along those lines, the applicant then decided to withdraw the application.
Yes, it was very interesting, the email that Jeff sent to the applicant in response to their QC's letter. Anything else, please, before we go? Now, are we meeting on the 12th of November? Philip, do you know if that's going ahead?
Chairman, I'm currently in discussion with service managers about the volume of cases that might come forward. There is a possibility that we may not meet. I will discuss with our officers and member services and update as quickly as possible for members. Please expect to meet, but I will brief you as soon as possible if there is no item to be brought forward.
It's just that we had talked about possibly some more training. So if there is no real agenda or an extremely short agenda for the 12th, possibly look at that meeting for some training update.
I'll return to you, Chairman. We're due to have a portfolio holders meeting on Wednesday of next week, and we can have that discussion at that point. If there is an opportunity to hold training and we can take something forward with members of the Development Committee and the wider membership, then I'll be pleased to do that. It's not clear to me at the moment whether or not we'll have items to be brought forward. We've got a number of cases that are subject to call-in at the moment. As members know, we are closing the planning application software system very shortly, and so we want to try and give every opportunity to get as many applications determined before we launch the new system as possible. So if I can do that, then I will. If I can't do that, then we will discuss the opportunities for training when we meet on Wednesday. and obviously through member services, we will update you as soon as possible, members.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for turning up. I'm so sorry that it's been, well, it hasn't been uninformative. It's actually been quite good to hear the discussion that has ensued. And have a good weekend. Thank you everybody for all the work that you've done, the officers, and look forward to seeing you in the near future. Thank you. Bye-bye.